Read this passage to answer question 21. Question 21. Which one of the following statements best reflects the most logical and rational implication conveyed by the passage? Best is a superlative, and implication would mean what you may assume from the passage. That's it. Looking at option A, arbitrary curbs on vehicles to reduce pollution are difficult to implement. Difficult to implement? Did the passage say that? No. And this passage is not about implementation of curbs, how difficult it is to implement. This passage is not that. It's something that you wouldn't imply from the passage for sure. Option B, knee-jerk reactions cannot solve the problem of pollution, but an evidence-based approach will be more effective. In usual cases, looking at previous UPSC questions, this sounds like an elimination, cannot solve, will. But let me read further. I cannot eliminate B now. I have to read further because let me check if there are further eliminations. Option C, a heavy penalty should be enforced on those driving without periodic pollution tests. That's a good suggestion, but not an implication from this passage, penalty. Someone getting penalized. No, not from this passage. A good suggestion indeed. Option D, in the absence of laws, who said? Did the passage say absence of laws? Okay, maybe in the absence of laws, they're trying to assume, let me read, in the absence of laws to deal with problems of pollution, okay, the administration tends to make arbitrary decisions. First of all, this passage never said that because it has to be an implication from the passage. This is not a message. This is an implication from the passage. And this passage has never said something that you can imply as absence of laws from this passage. No. And number two, this passage is never making us imply from this passage that the administration tends to make arbitrary decisions. Whether administration make arbitrary decisions or not, that is not an implication from this passage. Whether laws are absent or present, that is also not implication from this passage. So that is also eliminated. And option B is my answer, and rightly so. If I can read this, arbitrary, B is my answer. Arbitrary bans are unfair, very clearly said. And towards this part, we can clearly understand what is needed is the scientific and reliable information. So what is needed? What is needed? What is indispensable? What is inevitable is the scientific and reliable information about the source of pollutants on a continuing basis and the technologies that will work to reduce pollution from them. Option B is my answer.